What's up, guys? This is Ashlox. It's time for the collaboration of Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. I'm showcasing Riza Hawkeye in Wyvern because this hero is actually performing really well in there, allowing your frontliner to survive much longer. If you're struggling in terms of like gear stats, you cannot push into Wyvern 13. Riza Hawkeye could definitely help you out. This is a free hero. You can just get her by straight up logging into the game during the Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood collaboration. And also you can get additional copies from the side story during the collaboration. So definitely, do all that stuff. More copies mean memory imprint, easier to actually 6-star Riza Hawkeye. And her memory imprint is attack percentage for the rest of the team. Very nice. She's got target debuff on the skill number 1. I'm using Daydream Joker on her to push the damage against the boss. Big damage that she's able to do, guys. You're going to be seeing some really nice numbers. And she allows you to survive much longer with your frontliner. That frontliner you're gonna have is just gonna be so much more tanky. Even if your gear is crap, you can just straight up put the free health set on that frontliner. It could be Angelica, it could be Angelique Montmorency, it could be Crozet. Free to play options, definitely going to work out real well for you. You can be using 3-star heroes like I'm doing, right? I got Mui, I got Tarnor Guard, and Riza Hawkeye, just doing big damage, providing the target debuff against the Wyvern. Debuffs are the name of the game when it comes down to Wyvern. So target allows you to have 1 debuff and also for 2 turns, which is really nice. And you can just deal big damage with her, right? In my case, I have 2 heroes that can provide me with defense break on the boss. That's a debuff, and shredding the target's defense by 70% is a big deal because it's going to scale your damage even higher, and it's going to make your Daydream Joker 3-star artifact do more damage. So as you can see, I have plenty of debuffs on the Wyvern, and my team is just working real well. If your team is like not running those kind of stats, of course, you're just going to take longer to defeat the boss. You're going to go through a barrier phase. As long as your frontliner is surviving, as long as you have 2 debuffs on the boss, you're going to be just fine. You're just going to be fine. The boss will keep attacking the front liner, and by having Riza Hawkeye, it's going to be really hard to take down that hero in the front. If you have Mui, I really suggest you that you build Mui if you are struggling in Wyvern. He's only a 3-star hero. He was added to the game not long ago, and he is definitely a god when it comes down to dealing with the Wyvern stages. He just is completely insane. Defense break, big damage, self-attack buff, provides combativeness push for your whole team so you can cycle faster. Like, he is a game changer when it comes down to Wyvern if you're struggling, and he's only a 3-star hero. In the front, Angelica, Angelique Montmorency, doesn't matter. Like, you're gonna be able to do just fine, especially with Riza Hawkeye, because 30% less damage that you're taking from single target attacks is a big deal. Definitely a massive deal. And as you can see, I lost my Tarnor Guard, not a big deal. As long as your frontliner stays alive, as long as you are able to provide, land 2 debuffs on the Wyvern, and having a target debuff that lasts for 2 turns is very good. Now, if you're really struggling in terms of debuffs, you could straight up disable the skills of Riza Hawkeye so she can just keep on using the skill number 1. But her skill number 3 has a big damage, so there is that to keep in mind. Also, it is actually boosting the damage of the skill number 1 because she's getting a weak point buff for 1 turn that cannot be removed. And the stuff like removing all buffs from the Wyvern, you don't need to worry about that because the Wyvern doesn't have any buff. Also, there's the fact that you are able to push back the combativeness of the target with the skill number 3. That doesn't work against the Wyvern because the boss is actually immune to combativeness pushback. So that's why I'm saying you could just straight up disable her skills and you're gonna be just fine. You're gonna be able to have more chances to actually land target debuff. If you feel like your uptime on it is not so good, you're really struggling to land those 2 debuffs, so you have a defense breaker in your team, you have Riza Hawkeye with the very powerful target debuff, you could be using Elfelt limited artifact that actually allows you to have defense break on Riza Hawkeye. And there's there's various artifacts that you could be wearing on her. Maybe have a higher chance to trigger a dual attack when it's someone else's turn. But the thing is, having a Daydream Joker is really powerful. It's a lot of damage that, as you can see, she's able to deal. And if you're able to pump that critical hit damage on her, it will really scale the damage from her attacks as well as the Daydream Joker, especially when you have Defense Break on the boss. So try to have all these things. Also, 65% effectiveness is important to have in Wyvern 13. More than that is a waste. It's just because you want the best chance to actually land your debuffs against the boss. So any of your hero that actually needs to land a debuff, you need to have 65% effectiveness. More than that is a waste. Less than that will reduce your chances to actually land your debuff. There's also the 15% innate resist. You can't do anything about that. I mean, it's just gonna show up as a resist. Maybe your debuff just straight up don't trigger because they don't have a 100% chance to trigger. So you gotta keep all these things in mind. That's why I like to run with 2 or maybe 3 heroes that are able to land Defense Break debuff against the Wyvern. Very, very powerful stuff when you're stacking a bunch of Daydream 3-star artifact on your heroes to deal big damage. And if you want a speedrun, I mean, you want to take the Wyvern down before the barrier phase. This is not a one-shot team. This is a realistic team that you could be running in early game, mid game, late game, and your runs will just happen, right? It's just gonna take a bit longer than a one-shot team, but that's perfectly fine. I mean, you just let the game run on auto and it's all good. So as you can see, I'm able to land a bunch of debuffs. You know, the burn comes out of the limited artifact that is on my Tarnar Guard, so that's something you might not have. Furious is a 4-star ranger, and he is very strong. You can get him for free. It's just a matter of using 7 or 8 Molagora to actually get him skilled up, so he can have, you know, the -1 turn cooldown on his skill number 3, and so he can have the best chance to, I believe, Defense Break. So he's able to actually Defense Break Furious for 2 turns very reliably, and he can apply critical hit chance buff on your team, which gives you 50% more crit chance, and that's very good. You know, having an additional 50% crit chance against, you know, fire when your ice means that you actually just need 35% crit chance on your character sheet on paper, right? So very easy to hit that number. And you might be just gearing out for more crit damage, more attack, and maybe more speed, reach that 65% effectiveness. Maybe you do end up with some health and defense on free gear and stuff like that, which is perfectly fine because it's not always you're going to have 2 debuff on the Wyvern. Sometimes you get unlucky, right? So if you're able to take a volley of attack from the Wyvern, you know, all 3 attacks, and you survive, that is actually really good to actually have a better success rate. But as you can see, my Tarnar Guard in the back, he is only level 50, 5-star. So if he receives a volley of attack, he's sort of like most definitely going down. He's gonna go down, and it might reduce my success rate, but since my gear is pretty high up there, it's gonna be fine. But as you can see, most of the time I have a bunch of debuffs on the Wyvern, and of course you could be using someone else compared to Angelica instead of Angelica in the front. Like I said, Crozet's perfectly fine. If you're gonna be surviving all the damage of the Wyvern, Crozet, I mean, he's so tanky. You just put health, you know, pieces of gear from the free gear you get on him, he's gonna be rock solid. He actually has attack break debuff on his skill number 1, so another reason to actually use Crozet. And I mean, you have multiple options. Preferably you want to run a full ice team, a mono ice team, because it's going to be easier to gear for, especially if you're running Mui in your team, pushing the combativeness of your whole team. Very nice. But later on you can transition into other heroes like General Purgus to speed things up depending on your gear level. As you can see, Junkyard Dog is the limited artifact from the Gear to Gear collaboration. Not everyone might have that. There's a warrior artifact that can apply random debuffs, so that's another pretty solid one if you're struggling in terms of debuffs. But Angelica, with just a 3-star prophetic candlestick, is very strong. Very short cooldown, like she can just keep using skill 2 to heal herself. It's a double heal into her super OP. Like, she's gonna survive so well. You don't need these stats when you have Riza Hawkeye protecting your frontliner. Very strong hero. Don't, you know, miss the chance to get her. And let us know what you guys think about all that in the comment section. That's it for this one. I'm Watching Lars. Good luck with all ya do. Peace out for now.